Africa's investment landscape is developing rapidly, but it's still patchy, and there are key pieces still missing, particularly growth stage investors. Anne-Marie Chidzero, Chief Investment Officer at FSD Africa, joins us on more and just a look at what needs to be done, especially in putting in innovative thinking to bridge Africa's investment gap. Anne-Marie, thank you so much for making time to speak to us. We've just touched on, we are seeing the investment landscape here on African continent is improving. We're seeing more investors coming into the continent. But does that mean that we have fewer gaps still present? Just give us an overview of the current landscape.
Great. Thank you, Fiona, for having me on the show. So FSD Africa Investments, we invest at the frontier of finance. And what we're trying to do is innovate and develop financial instruments and structures that can really meet the gaps in the financial system. And so what we're seeing right now is a very vibrant SMME sector. So when you talk about what is the investment landscape, there are a lot of innovations that are happening that have been driven from the continent, particularly in the tech space and the early stage space. Filling a lot of gaps in the climate finance space, but also in health, in services. And so that's really going to be the drive for private sector investment going to the future. And what that means, though, is that we need to be quite creative and innovative about the types of financial instruments and structures that can meet and bridge the financing gap that currently exists for these types of enterprises. Certainly from what we're hearing from the SVB sort of situation and the impact globally, I think there are certainly lots of lessons that we can learn from how we finance these kinds of businesses. That bank came in to bridge a gap for tech startups. We have a lot of tech startups on the African continent, so we really need to be creative in managing that risk in financing this particular sector, because they will continue to be the engine of growth.
Yeah, Anne-Marie, just want to bring into one of the conversations we had earlier on the show today. We're looking at the global banking crisis and the ripple effects, what that could mean for markets within the sub-Saharan Africa. You've also touched on some of the economic challenges that we're experiencing globally. Could we see Western investors shying away from the African continent, especially from the booming sector that the African continent has, mainly due to the different gloom economic activities that we're seeing currently?
No, that is correct. I mean, yes, Africa does present a number of risks, being a frontier market. But what we're also seeing is just different types of investors coming together with different risk-return profiles and structuring the much-needed investment vehicles to drive or to finance the growth that's needed on the continent. And these investors include your development finance institutions, your impact investors, and investors like ourselves, where we're willing to take on risk as long as we're seeing an important impact in terms of these businesses being able to generate the economic incomes for the population, the jobs for the population, addressing some of our energy situation on the continent, a lot of entrepreneurial activity around climate change, innovations around solar energy, and all sorts of different types of innovations that are happening. So it will require investors that have a long-term view, that want to see impact, and then that collaborate in order to blend their different risk-return profiles.